Hello, viewers. This is Bunch Natural once again, and today come over to meet a friend, a family friend indeed, for an interaction and to tell us more about his works, artworks. You might ask, what branch of art is that? And your branch of art, I don't want
We,
to say
we specialize in landscape impressionism and
an abstract.
and abstract.
An abstract.
I don't want to say that. I want you to hear that from the horse's mouth.
Yes.
So here we're going to have an interaction, and just you're going to tell us more about himself, his creativity, artworks, so many things around him. And remember, he's also a businessman. If you want to engage him in line of his own business about art, you can call him as well and have a kind of talks with him. And if you fit in, so be it. So, Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
introduce yourself.
Well, yes. I must say that I was always a lover of nature.
Yeah.
From the earliest age, at say age 3, I could learn to read. I mean to swim. We always go to the river and we catch fish and so on. So when by the time we reached age 5,
Yeah.
and it was one of the most precious thing to me when you go to the river and you can catch a fish, catch some shrimps and so on. I was able to learn at age to swim at age 3.
From your own perspective
Okay.
of life, tell us about you and your profession too.
Yes, I grew up in this area that called Mount Lawrence Tavern.
Okay.
I didn't grow up with my mother. I grew up with
Alright.
my grandmother.
Why your
And
grandmother?
yes,
Sorry
my
to
mother gave me away,
Okay.
wrap up into a little towel to my grandmother.
Oh.
And when my grandmother died, I was 6 years of age.
Okay.
And it was very difficult because I usually sleep up by oval in church and
Mhm.
cardboard in the night. So I usually would go around and beg to survive. And people will help me a lot at the time because they're sorry for me.
Okay.
So they help me to give me food and little clothes and so
hope-
forth.
Hold on. I hope viewers listening to this,
Hmm.
make sure you learn something out of this.
Yes.
Because so
And
yeah.
so,
How
right.
long have you been on art? This profession?
As
This
far as I
guy-
can, as far as I can remember, it's from way back from infancy. That's a very long time. We're talking,
Way back.
we're talking about actually
It's as old as you.
actually 70 years ago.
It's as old as
So
you.
long. Yes, as old as me. That's about 70 years ago.
70 years.
Yes, about 70 years
Oh
ago.
my God.
Because I used to draw flowers at the time and so on and different things and whatever. You know, even from my fellow students, and because some of them find it very awkward, especially later on now. You find that we used to try to teach us to draw the map of Jamaica, and most people couldn't manage it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And so even with now, she had us to draw the map of Jamaica for some folks as well. It's very difficult to because when I was studying biology,
Yeah.
it's hard to draw the organs. Some of them are so intricate.
Yeah.
For example, the kidney. The kidney is what a filtering
Yeah.
organ to filter out all the different toxins and so on, and help your body. So that itself was a very intricate organ because of its network and so on. But what I like is Jamaica have a very rich culture,
Mhm.
a very rich culture, and they were able to those great icons was able to mold us as a nation. You know how we must live, what we must do, whatever we experience, and and so on from way back.
All right.
Yes.
It's a deep story, part of life. Go on, go on.
Yes, so when I was 6 years of age, I realized that I love art very, very, very much
Yeah.
because I love the beauty of nature from I was a little child.
Yeah.
I usually love to plant flowers around my little house and
Alright.
things at the
Yeah.
church where I usually stay.
Mm.
But after a while now, I start to grow up now and I reach about age 12. I went to Oberlin School and I talked to the principal there and he said to me, yes, you can come to the school at Oberlin to learn
Yeah.
a skill. At that time, it was a skill days. You learn woodwork, dressmaking, art, and mechanic at that time at Oberlin School. The brighter one, them will do a different subject. You know, when they can more do maths and English,
Yeah.
they take a different role. But the one them that couldn't manage. They do like art and so forth.
Yeah.
So at the time now, I stayed there for a little while until when I reached to grade 9, going to grade 10. I sit down and I question myself and I said to myself, oh, I'm going to manage when I leave Oberlin school because the principal always giving me lunch and food and help me out. So I
It's a deep
said to
story, you know.
myself, you know what? I
Deep
love
story.
art and I'm
That's
going
a
to
good
do
question.
art. I started to do art. It was 32 children in the class. I was the only girl there at the time doing art. And I try my best to work very hard and focus a lot.
Yeah.
And the principal, the teacher said to me, Sir Brown said to me, they're going to send me to Things Jamaica to do ceramics training there. They sent me there for 6 months and I tried my best and worked very hard. And when I supposed to leave Oberlin school, I applied for a job at Things Jamaica before I graduate.
Excuse me.
We have to study all around us and create things and so on.
Great things, all right.
Because, for example, what I learned is that man will look on a bird and say we want something to fly like a bird, and they create airplanes and so on.
Exactly.
Right? That is how great our
Yeah.
brains are. We use it and we say, well, lightning struck someone, and therefore there must be something in the here. And then we said, let us find out what is in this here. And so
Yes.
mankind create what they call the microscope. I mean, the electricity.
Electricity. Yeah.
Next again, human being realized that there was a time which is very important. I think this is one of the most important things that really, helped me to understand the world more. When human being believed that it was evil spirit that caused disease and all those kind of things, such as and then man discovered the microscope,
Yeah.
starting about from the 15th century, and they perfected it in the 17th century. Yeah. And so when they discovered the microscope, the government of England announced around the world that it's detrimental to practice any kind of occult, whether it's necromanism, voodooism, any kind of ism. Yeah. Because we now know what caused disease, which is microorganism, bacteria, virus, and so on. And so it created, because before that it was the rich craze when everybody believed that everything caused from some evil spirit.
Yeah.
That's what happened in those days here. So no, but what happened is that some cultures seem to carry on, for many, many years, and people can't come out of it because this thing of education going to move a little further from it. And so the schools now was able to come in, and the church create the school, which is good. Nobody can just bash the church because the church was what create educational system to pass down to us and so on.
Yes.
But like everything is not just perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So the school was able to educate us now to understand each other, and so that we can coexist more and so on.
Yeah.
Which we have to appreciate.
Yeah.
And that help us to become a better nation. Right. We because when I come 1970, a lot of folks, the government used to employ people without any form of subjects or anything like that. And then later on, though, the government community, there was quite a few other, educational system in those times, but then they came in with JC and so on. And then they start to, you have the CXC and so on. But they did have the British exam, which was, the A-level and O-level, Cambridge and so on, City and Guild and all these kind of things that came in. Yeah. To carry, bring it to a higher education background and so on, to help you to understand yourself and the people around you better and so on, right? And to create a better world. And that is how we reach to where we are now. We don't have to rely on a donkey to transport anywhere with great cars and so on and so. And during that time, they don't carry into the water as such and teach you to swim. They will just creep behind and just push off in the water, and then they have to just learn to swim from there. It was very frightening and so on. But after time, we were able to conquer that fear, and so we were able to swim for ourselves. So in that era, we were surrounded with about 3 rivers in St. Thomas, Bath, where I was born. And then later on, they came to St. Elizabeth, but it was pretty early. After 1951, say about 1952, they came to St. Elizabeth. Yeah. So I have no idea where I was born. I thought I was born in St. Elizabeth. That's where my mother was living. Mm-hmm. And also the next grandmother. And so I was living with my grandmother. They came back to when my mother was going to England. She came in and left me in St. Thomas there. We actually grew up until I was about 11 years of ages. And then I went. My grandmother died, and my uncle came and took us up as cousins. There was about 5 cousins of us grew up together.
Okay.
Yes, and so we still have that bond there. We communicate with each other up to this day. It's very nice. That kind of bond is there. And we grew up in that culture, which is a very nice culture. Place was quite green and nice with all the river. We could go up to Bad Fountain, right? And then when we go to Man, we realize that Man don't have any river because it's actually on top of one of those parish in Jamaica that don't have a river. So they have to go down to an area called Porous, which is in the lower bottom there. And they put 2 submerged pumps down into the ground to pump up the water to Mandeville. So most of those fellows in Mandeville, they couldn't swim because there's nothing there to teach them to swim. They have to go all the way down to Porous. You have that river there. And that's where most of them learn to swim and so on. So we have a diversity of different culture around the whole entire country. We travel around the entire parish, Nav and myself, and we sit down and we paint different sceneries,
Okay.
So all the different parishes we travel in those days. It was pretty safe at those times. Now everybody will just come and watch us painting and so on. And then we have that, that sort of, togetherness, and we talk we can paint and talk. Some folks can do it and their brains can't open up to talk, and when it's kind of disturb them and so on, and they can't function properly. But we talk and paint and so on. And
from childhood?
Yes, as far as I can remember, it's but from the basic school at age 3.
Okay.
That's where, when I went to the infant school, they taught us to draw little things and so on. But I find that most of the kids have problems to draw flowers and all those things.
Yeah.
So we have to help them out and so on. And, that brought me to art and so on at that tender age there.
Okay.
We were growing up into the Methodist church. And so we had was to ring the bell. In that belfry, there was a huge bell. I mean, we were so small when we carried down and going up back, it would lift up us almost off the ground. So 3 of us have to hold the rope and so on because we were so small.
Yeah.
And then we developed what you call a technique to climb those columns, to go up in the belfry, take out all sometimes to catch the birds and so on. There are a lot of doves used to live up here. That we rest on your foot on one column and our back and next column, we just gradually work ourselves up there. It's very smooth, but that is a nice, lovely way to climb and so on. So we have to go to the bushes and catch. So when I went to Mandeville with my uncle and his wife, it was very good for me because we were able to grow up with a good educational system. He sent us to St. Louis Technical, that is Errol and myself. And Errol and myself, after we leave St. Louis Technical, they sent us to CAS, which is College of Art, Science and Technology. That was 1970. Yes. And from there now we learn about engineering, which is technical drawing, engineering maths and engineering science and so on. I never get to complete it because he called back. I did about 2.5 years. So he called back and said, no, the Riviera Backside company is a new company opening, so you have to leave and go to that company because they're recruiting workers and so on. So I went. That Backside company went through 3 years of construction, and so I was able to catch it right into the 3 years of production. But it only lasted for 3 years because they went on strike for so many years that it did a lot to them because were quite a new company. There wasn't earning enough money to take some strikes and so on. Sometimes 3 times a year, 4 times a year there were strikes, and so they closed on in 1975. It was then that I have to go back to the city and find a job because Manchester is not so much of a huge town, and so jobs are not able to get there and so on. So the city is much broader. You have a diversity of different jobs and so on. Yes. Okay. So from there, I work with the Attorney General's office, and was in those days the staff was such love, and everybody just moved as one. Very, very nice, staff, and we converse and get knowledge from each other and so on. And I was the assistant librarian, and so I was, we just covered with millions of books, millions of hard books. Yeah. So much so that I spent time and studied them. I could, if a lawyer come in and so on. I can just tell them right off the tip if that one is loaned out or that one is there, because I just walk around and study them and I read them. I read about the laws, and it was very intriguing. And some of the laws them are really antiquated and old, because some of them is like 1,000 years old, and so on. They almost becomes fossils, But so when they turn to the stage where it almost becomes fossil, they send them to the archive, say up university, and there was an archive down East Street. So I learned so much about the British culture going through those laws there. Very revealing. Well, we are told that we're not supposed to expose anything and so on, but nothing was wrong with that point of view. That's that you have secret things and so on. But those laws gave me a good knowledge of what governed mankind and so on. And in the life we have to revise about 5 sets of books, laws. We have 5 sets of laws and 5 sets of subsidiary to the legislation. We have to revise them and bring them up to date in the library, so that when they go to court, they are really on par to win a case. Because if the private practitioners out there go to court and their books are more up to date, then the government lawyers are going to lose the case. So you have to keep it up to date. And so, from that beginning there, starting from a humble beginning, I'm able to understand more and more about myself and the whole culture around us and so on. That was my first exposure to that sort of education, to know myself and know the people around me and so on.
All right.
Those days, Jamaica was so nice. Everybody.
What year? When you say those days, what year?
Well, when I went to the Attorney General's office, it was 1970.
70?
Yes, 1970. Pretty young, man. I was just about...
I don't know. You have to be pretty young then.
Pretty young. Yes, right. I was just about 20-something, 21. About there. And...
go on.
And so, the staff was just one. Just one staff and so on. Everybody there's a band there. Somehow later on, sometimes you can see the culture sort of change a little now and so on. But Jamaica still have a certain band together, which of course I appreciate. Don't care how much we are diverse and how we behave sometimes. If there's an accident, everybody come together and cooperate to save that person's life. That's what I like. Still, I appreciate about our country still. That is there.
Yeah.
No matter what status those people take, they still have that loving heart about their people when they got hurt. And I appreciate that very much.
So, can I ask you something? I heard you make mention of your school days. You talked about engineering.
Yes.
How come diversified into art?
Well, the thing is, in doing engineering, I never complete the entire course and so on. And so I was working with I was the assistant librarian, so the librarian asked me to do a logo of NATCOLAD, which is National Library. And I did it so well that she said, Barnes, to be honest with you, you're very gifted. And so you have to go to School of Art to get yourself more educated in that field there. And from what I identify, Barnes, is that you are not really so much of a landscape. You're an abstract. When she started to see the work, she said, you're an abstract artist.
Exactly.
That is your field.
Yeah.
And she was so right, because I remember when Dr. Kenneth Rashid, when they did my first exhibition in 1980 at the Tom Redcam Library, I did some abstracts. And she said to me, that's your year. So I remember going to New Kingston. As an artist, you have to observe what is happening around and document it on canvas. That generation to come will understand what we went through and so on and what is going on. And so when I look into New Kingston, it was really a residential era. 1970, a lot of that era was actually taken up by Kashamaka, Kashamaka Bush, they call it. And to see how it excelled to this point, And I saw all these buildings ascending into the heaven. And I said, let us call this piece of work there ascending. It was an abstract, the ascending buildings. So because of these buildings so high amongst the residential area, those people feel no more at home. Their privacy and so on was actually taken away, because you can stay upstairs and looking at them, whatever they are doing down there. And, it was very sad. And it is happening now. Now we see the same trend taking over throughout Jamaica now, where, a lot of buildings and so on. And those buildings are necessary because in America they have to do a lot of high-rising building because it can't find so much land space to put people and so on. As a small island, we also need to preserve the land. So you can't just have house scattered all over the place. So it's very important to have those buildings to keep people in that sort of proximity. Very important.
All right. Please tell us what is landscape and what is abstract? Because I know a landscape is a visible in a location, an environment that is visible. And see the terrain, see the structure, see things around it. But I want you to put it in a professional definition that people, when the branch of art, landscape and abstract, when you use that word now, some people across board, most people might not even realize or come to understand this is exactly what this branch of art stands for.
Well, to be honest with you, abstract, is almost in almost every culture, and we use it away from art as well.
And what is it?
It's a way of moving from the realism.
Yeah.
So you will see things in a more abstract kind of form, which you decide the you're going to use, for example, just pure colors, or you can use forms and so on, and you create that diversity. I remember when
It has anything to do with the visualization.
Yes, because man must be able to come up with his concept that has been coming from way back in history, where everyone can talk the same and use the same ideas.
Okay.
Because that's how man flourish. We have to come up with different ideas, and that's what causes us to excel over the years.